Good evening, YouTube. This is Chuck again. It's Friday night, November 18th, and I'm coming to you from my living room. And tonight I want to record a little video as a second phase of the discussion about the Bigfoot subject. Ever since I published that one here a few days ago, I've been trying to figure out how to go about doing this one. It's a very wide-ranging and complicated subject. It's very hard to address it in a simple manner, but I guess the only way to do it is to hit it a little bit at a time, and eventually, hopefully, it'll all make sense to you. This would be a good spot if you didn't watch my first video about the Bigfoot subject. This would be a good time to pause this one here and go back and watch that one, because this is going to kind of pick up where that one left off. So I guess the question somebody might have is, how do we know what we know? And I guess the biggest way to answer that is I've been, as I said in the other video, I've been very interested in pursuing this subject and researching the subject for 11 years. But about 5 years ago, I changed the whole way I was doing it, and I started using a different research method. And I'm not the only person in the world that's doing this. We're in contact with other people that are using the same research method we're having and getting the exact same results. Various locations throughout the U.S. and also in Canada. Some of our results have varied just a little bit, but for the most part, we're doing the same thing, and we're getting the same results, and we're comparing notes. So with that, we've developed a hypothesis, and hypothesis is a fancy word for theory, which is a fancy word for guess. A hypothesis can change as we learn more. But our hypothesis is made up of things we think and things we know and things we think we know. And as I said, it can change as we get to understand more. A lot of what we've learned about the forest people, they've actually told us. Every once in a while we'll be out on one of our research trips, and we'll get an elder that's willing to talk to us and willing to answer questions, and some of them have been quite spectacular. So without getting off on a tangent, let me try to answer some questions that you might have, or try to explain a little bit about what we understand. Or the Sasquatch people have been here for a long time. They're old. They're probably an older race than we are. The Native Americans, the First Nations people, all knew about the hairy man, they called them. They knew about it. They had some contacts with them, and there's anecdotal evidence that maybe that some places they actually had kind of an ongoing relationship with them. But when we came into the area, it changed. We don't live light on the land, and I guess the best way to describe it. Let me shift a little bit here. That'll illustrate it a little bit better. We've been told that the Sasquatch people have a lifespan that's a lot longer than ours, maybe 3 times ours. And what that means is that the ones that are the elders now, and the ones that are basically running the show with the Sasquatch people, they were adults 150 years ago when we white Anglo-Europeans first came to this area. And so what did we do? We moved in like a conquering army. We conquered the Native American people. We basically moved into the Sasquatch people's living room, and we started busting up the furniture. We built our towns, we built our roads, we built our industrial facilities, our garbage dumps, our power plants. We cut down the trees and burned stuff, and basically we loused the place up. What that means, quite simply, and is totally understandable, is that a lot of the elders that saw this and have experienced this and lived with this throughout generations of us, and that they saw it from the beginning. Well, quite honestly, they don't like us much. And so they go into very, very remote areas and they try to minimize contact with us. In many cases, when we go into those areas, whether we're hikers or hunters or whatever we are, they'll try to run us out. They'll intimidate us and try to run us out because they don't want to deal with us. Now, the other generations who've grown up with us being around all the time, some of them are a little more tolerant of us. And the little ones that we've found, the little ones are fascinated by us. They're like little human kids. They like to come and stand right next to you, and I've had it happen. We normally leave a chair out, and the little ones will come and sit in the chair next to us. And of course, that's the whole thing is built on trust. The adults are right there, close, and they trust us. They know we're not a danger to their young, or they wouldn't let their young come anywhere close to us. And that's a discussion for another time. But we're basically the gophers in their yard. We came in and we started messing stuff up. They're very spiritual people. They don't believe in harming us. Could they? Oh yeah, they could. They're, as I said in the other video, they're bigger, stronger, faster, and smarter than we are. And they could literally walk right into our camp and rip us to shreds. But they don't do that. There are stories about that kind of thing happening, and I'm sure there's a rogue somewhere that, and maybe some of those stories are true. And in our contact, as we have developed a relationship with them over the last 5 years, we found them to be very, very peaceful people and very loving people. And that we are the ones that are violent. We are the ones that can't be trusted. And it takes a while as individuals for us to build up that trust with them to the point where they will communicate with us. So what do we see when we go out? Well, they have the ability somehow, and we don't quite understand how this works, but they have the ability somehow to manipulate light to the point where, for our purposes, they're invisible. Dogs can see them, horses can see them, but if they want to allow us to see them, there's something they absolutely have to do. And we're not quite sure what that is. We think they have to slow down their vibrational intensity or something in order to go into what we refer to as full solid. And when the only way they can actually speak verbally to us is if they're in full solid form. Most of the time when we see them, they're in what we call shimmering image form, or cloaked. We use the term cloaked. And basically what you're looking at when you see them is you're looking at a distortion, or a blur, or a churning distortion is what we similar see. Can you see that? Yeah, you can. You have to kind of train yourself to look for it, and you have to be open to looking for that. But they'll come, and of course, a lot of times it's in the dark, so they have to be pretty close to you before you can see them. But they will come around, and at times we've had fairly large numbers of them around. How do they communicate with us? Well, when they're in their shimmering image form, or the cloaked form, they don't have vocal cords, and so they can't communicate verbally, so they communicate with what we call mind speak. And mind speak basically can range all the way from a voice in your head all the way down to just a random thought that pops into your head out of nowhere. And once again, you have to train yourself to be open to that. You have to have an open mind enough to be able to accept that. And you have to get used enough to that so that you recognize when it's happening. It's pretty easy when someone talks to you. It's pretty easy to understand, even though they're when they speak to you, it's very, very clear. I've had them talk to me, and it's just like somebody speaking to me, but it's inside my head. So that's touched on a couple of things. I'm coming up on 10 minutes on this video. I don't want it to go too long, so I'm going to call this now. And I'm going to call it just to answer a couple of questions. I'll come back and make more in the future. But that's going to be it for right now. I just topped 10 minutes. So, as I like to always tell you, love each other, take care of each other, and we'll talk to you again on another one. This subject is absolutely fascinating, and I could talk for a long time, but I want to try to do it in bite-sized portions. So with that, I'll let you go for now, and we'll catch you on the next one. Peace out.